Hi, I'm Tony Facilli. I'm Stephen Hunter.
And I'm Alan Barrelero, and we're the supervising animators
Of The Incredibles.
Otherwise known as
The Three
Caballeros.
Hi, I'm Genia, I'm an animator.
And I'm Dave, I'm also an animator.
And I'm Kareha, I'm an animator.
Hi, I'm Dave Mullins, animator.
I'm John Cars, animator.
Robert Russ, animator.
Angus MacLean, animator.
I'm Travis Hathaway. I worked on a few sequences here in The Incredibles.
Doug Frankel worked on a few sequences on The Incredibles.
Peter Sohn, I'm proud to have said that I've worked on this film as an animator.
This is the best film we'll ever work on. So there's some amazing animation here by Mike Stocker.
Yeah. This is a tough assignment for your second shot.
Yeah,
it's like
here you go. First shot of the film. Have fun.
Adam Burke, his first shot too, and CG.
An interesting thing that I think every hand-drawn animator that came onto the picture, including myself, because we're used to timing our drawings differently than you would on the computer, where the hand-drawn animation, you time it pretty much every other frame you do a drawing. And on the computer, it's on what we call ones, where it's every single frame there's a different pose or a different movement. So we had to, you know, if you're thinking on twos, which is every other frame, and you translate to ones, it looks a little watery. Things get a little swishy and slow. And that happened to me, and it seemed like every 2D guy, their first scene, got a little bit sloshy and slow.
When you're doing it on
and then we had
your brain fills in the gap.
The brain fills in the gap, yeah.
That's Brad would always say, put it in the fridge, I think, right? That we had to eventually there's a certain point where you get to put away your shot for a little while and go on to other stuff and kind of get your chops and kind of reps in and then go back to the shot, and it'd be a lot easier to kind of finish in between.
Just a couple of these shots that they're long enough that the animators spent like majority of the production working on them.
Yeah, they probably came back many times for little dialogue tweaks and everything over the course of the production.
So Brad's whole idea about having the interviews at the beginning was kind of a calm beginning to then an action opening. He wanted people to go, wait a minute, what movie did I just say I was going to see?
The first scene I did was Mrs. Hoganson saying, "Is that, what did she say?
Denied. You're denying my claim."
And two things I learned on that. For one thing, timing on twos and going directly to ones doesn't work. You need to respace everything. But also, in hand-drawn stuff, you're always looking for ways to make things feel pliable. So you squash and stretch everything. The head, everything is changing shape. With the 3D puppet, you do that, and it looks like you feel like you're going to hear the skull bones crack. It doesn't look right. You got to be really subtle with it. And I remember I overdid that head squash and stretch, remember?
Oh yeah.
And I had to pull it back, and then I kept pulling it back, and pretty soon I got rid of it. Just use the facial stuff. It's kind of like you have the control that you have when you're doing hand-drawn, where you can pretty much redo things until you get it the way you like it. But they're puppets, they're stop-motion puppets. And in stop-motion, you don't have the control. You're pretty much pushing the puppet one frame at a time, and you're kind of stuck with what you have. So it's kind of an interesting combination of the two.
Just finding the right balance, you know, where you don't, Doug Sweeney will hate me for saying this, but to feel it rather than see the squash that's going on. You just kind of feel it a little bit in the head.
Right. There was a thing that John Cars said, you know, that he told Peter Sohn, because Pete did a scene that was looking a little animation-y, like flourishy, we call it, you know, which is something that you sometimes do when you're a little bit bored with a scene.
Too many gestures?
Yeah, you kind of get a little, you know, you sort of, the head does a little too much stuff, and you wag the hands around because you're just a little trying to come up with something. And John said, no fluff. So he wrote it down on a piece of paper and stuck it on his monitor, no fluff.
Nice.
And stuck to it.
How do you think Brad fared changing from the medium 2D to 3D? Learning process for him too?
Yeah.
For a long time, you kept referring to him as drawings.
Yeah, he called them drawings, and he actually started using some technical terms by the end.
TZ.
I think it was difficult too that
was one of the 50 million controls.
That was difficult too, that the same in 2D you'd rough out your scene, you'd animate the key poses, then you'd be handing it off to clean up, and that is the same person. In computers, you're going to finish off the scene and in between it and get everything in there, and that was another thing.
Yeah, he found himself, because in 2D you approve the rough scene.
Right.
Sometimes maybe some of the in-betweens aren't in there. And then if you have a good assistant, sometimes if it's off model, I let him, it's done, it's done in rough animation, but that was an adjustment for him. Like he finalized the scene before it was really, all right, that's good to go, but it really